16. There's a can sitting in your pantry right now. You probably walked past it the last time you opened the cabinet. Maybe you bought it because it was on sale. Maybe someone gave it to you and you're not quite sure what to do with it. Canned sardines, $1.50. Emergency food. Now consider this. In Lisbon, in Paris, in Madrid, there are people who collect cans of sardines with the same seriousness that others collect aged wine. There are cans from 2015, from 2010, even from the 1990s, stored horizontally in temperature-controlled cellars, waiting to be opened at exactly the right moment. And when they are opened, they cost $30 or more. Same can, same fish, completely different product. Today, you're going to understand exactly why. Here's something almost nobody tells you. The sardine can exist because of Napoleon Bonaparte. In 1795, the French army had an unsolvable problem. Troops were invading entire countries, marching for months, and food always spoiled. Scurvy, botulism, malnutrition. They killed more soldiers than battles did. Decades earlier, the British Navy had lost more than half its fleet during the 7 Years' War. Not in combat, from hunger. Napoleon offered 12,000 francs, the equivalent of around $300,000 today, to whoever could find a reliable method of food preservation. The prize went unclaimed for 15 years. Then Nicolas Appert appeared, a confectioner from the Champagne region. No formal education, no scientific degree. Appert spent those 15 years experimenting in his workshop, sealing food in glass jars, applying heat, testing, and refining. In 1809, he presented his findings to the French government and claimed the prize. In 1810, he published his method officially. Here's the most fascinating part. Appert had absolutely no idea why it worked. He believed air caused spoilage, so he simply sealed it out. It wasn't until decades later, with Louis Pasteur, that the world understood the real enemy was microorganisms. The process worked perfectly, even though nobody knew the reason. That same year, 1810, in Nantes, France, a man named Joseph-Pierre Collin applied Appert's method to sardines for the first time. The oldest known sardine can in France dates to that exact year, the same year Beethoven finished his Fifth Symphony. And this is where the story starts to flip. But first, you need to see what actually happens inside this process. Every morning in Matosinhos, a coastal town 10 minutes from Porto, Portugal, the boats arrive at the fish market before 7 a.m. At the Pinhais Cannery, founded in 1920, experienced women are already waiting. Not machines, women, with decades of experience that allows them to know by touch alone, just touch, which sardine qualifies and which doesn't. The ones that don't qualify are discarded before they ever enter the building. This is the first thing that separates a $1.50 can from a $30 can. Moment zero. The quality of the fish the second it leaves the water. Then the process begins. And it has 37 documented steps. Step 1. Size grading. The sardines pass through automatic sorting machines that separate them into 3, 4, or even 5 size categories. This isn't cosmetic. It determines how evenly they'll cook later. A smaller sardine in the same batch as a larger one means uneven cooking. Uneven cooking means inconsistent texture. Inconsistent texture means a lower quality product. Step 2. Nobbing. This is the industry term for what you'd probably call removing the head and guts. The sardines pass through machines that make a precise cut, or through workers who do it by hand in artisanal facilities. Approximately 21% of the fish's weight is lost in this step. 1 kilogram of raw sardines produces around 790 grams of product ready for canning. Step 3. Washing and brining. After nobbing, the sardines are washed with drinking quality water to remove blood and surface slime. Then they pass through a brine bath, water saturated with salt, for a precisely controlled amount of time. The brine does two things simultaneously. It gives the final product its desired salt content, and it firms up the skin of the fish. Without this step, the skin adheres to the interior of the can during cooking. The salt isn't just flavor, it's structure. Step 4. Packing into the can. In industrial facilities, this is automated. In artisanal ones like Pinhais, it's done entirely by hand. The sardines are placed in layers inside the can with a precise orientation, head against tail, alternating, to maximize density without damaging the fish. Then the liquid is added. And here's something you probably didn't know. The oil matters more than you think. A can packed in low-grade sunflower oil will produce a completely different result than one packed in Portuguese extra virgin olive oil. The oil isn't just preservation. It's the medium in which the fish will transform over years. If the oil is mediocre, the transformation will be too. Step 5. Hermetic sealing and retort sterilization. This is where something happens that most people never imagine. The sealed cans enter what the industry calls a retort, an industrial pressure cooker the size of a room. Inside, the temperature climbs to 121 degrees Celsius, above the normal boiling point of water, which is only possible under pressure, and it holds there for 50 to 90 minutes, depending on can size. Why 120 degrees Celsius specifically? Because that's the temperature at which Clostridium botulinum dies, the bacterium that produces botulinum toxin, one of the most lethal substances found in nature. A single improperly sterilized can kill, and C. botulinum is extraordinarily heat resistant. At 100 degrees Celsius, normal boiling point, its spores survive without a problem. Below 121 degrees Celsius, they survive. Food regulators require what's called a botulinum cook, an exposure equivalent to 3 full minutes at 121 degrees Celsius at the coldest point of the can. Not the average temperature of the can, the coldest point. That margin isn't bureaucracy. It's what allows a can of sardines to sit in your pantry for 4 years without refrigeration and without a single additional preservative. After the retort, the cans are cooled, dried, labeled, and stored. And here, in that storage room, is where the biggest difference begins. There's a concept that has existed in Portugal and Galicia for decades, that the English-speaking world is only now beginning to discover, and that most canned sardine consumers have never heard of: aged sardines, vintage sardines. A quality sardine can, packed in extra virgin olive oil with the right fish from the right season, doesn't reach its best moment when it leaves the factory. It reaches it years later. During the first months, the fish slowly absorbs the oil. The bones soften until they become imperceptible. Any metallic note from the canning process disappears. Starting from the second year, flavors integrate in a way that no industrial process can accelerate. The texture stops being firm and becomes buttery. The flavor profile deepens. More umami, more marine complexity, less of what you perceive as tinned. At 3 to 5 years, experts agree, That's the optimal moment. Conservas Pinhais in Portugal requires that even their standard cans, the ones sold in the domestic market, rest for at least 3 months before reaching the consumer, so that the spices and oil infuse correctly, so that the flavors mature. Brands like Porthos and Nuri sell cans with a vintage year printed on them, exactly like wine bottles. In gourmet shops in Lisbon, it's completely normal to find cans from 2015, 2018, specific years, at increasing prices as the vintage gets older. And at Zingerman's, one of the most recognized gourmet distributors in the United States, a tin of 2020 Portuguese vintage sardines sells today for over $25. A 2016 tin can reach $30 or more. The weight of the can is nearly identical. The contents in grams almost the same. What changed is time, and time has no shortcuts. Here's the part that makes this story genuinely interesting. The sardine you buy for $1.50 at the supermarket and the sardines sold for $30 at a gourmet shop in Paris. In many cases, they are the same species, Sardina pilchardus, the European Atlantic sardine. The difference isn't the animal, it's everything surrounding the animal. The exact moment of capture during the season. The fattiest, most nutritionally dense sardines are found in summer and late autumn, when they've built up omega-3 reserves. The time between the net and the factory. Hours, not days. The quality of the oil they're preserved in. Whether the packing was done by hand or machine. Whether the can rested for weeks or years. And perception, which may be the most powerful ingredient of all. Nobody at a dinner in Manhattan hesitates to open an $80 bottle of wine, but a $30 can of sardines needs to justify itself. Same aging logic, same reason for the price, different packaging, different story. The ingredient in that $30 can that surprises most people is also in the $1.50 version at the back of your cabinet. Same fish, same chemistry. One comes wrapped in hand-illustrated Portuguese artwork and a vintage year. The other comes in whatever label was cheapest to print. Nobody's questioning the $1.50 one, because it comes in something that looks like emergency food. A standard industrial sardine factory processes 15 metric tons of raw fish in 8 hours. That generates more than 5,200 cans per ton, approximately 78,000 cans in a single shift. Pinhais, the only cannery that maintains a 100% artisanal process in Portugal, operates on a completely different scale. Every can passes through human hands at multiple points. The fish arrives fresh every morning from the Matosinhos fish market, without exception. No frozen stock, no third-party raw material. If there are no good sardines that day, there is no production that day. In high-volume industrial facilities, it's common to receive sardines frozen in blocks, caught during months of abundance, stored and thawed according to demand. This doesn't make the product dangerous. It makes it different. IQF freezing, individual quick freezing, is the most advanced method. Each sardine is frozen individually, allowing for more uniform thawing and less damage to texture. Even so, the final result is different from fish that was never frozen at all. That's what you're paying for, not the name on the can, the time, the scale, and the decision not to take shortcuts.